it's welcoming. Anyone from sort of 18 to 80 is welcome in our venue, and I feel that love that we bring is what our customers really love. They love coming in there and just people knowing their name, and there's a local atmosphere, and and just eating great food.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. The pandemic made everyone in hospitality rethink their business model. It proved challenging, but for some, the shift in operations meant they could create a new income stream and diversify the brand coming out of the muddy waters of COVID. What are the benefits to this new approach of hospitality? Hazel Burns is the co-owner of Dirty Mo's on the Sunshine Coast. Hazel, how are you?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's good to get you on the show. The Sunshine Coast has really come alive in the last 5 or 10 years. What's it like there?
It's beautiful. We have some of the most beautiful coastlines and beaches, and it's always been sort of this sad cousin to the Gold Coast as far as the restaurant scene go and the food scene go. But having grown up here, there's a love for our community that we've always had, and it's just been incredible to see it grow, and there's some great restaurants and some great people doing some incredible things now on the Sunshine Coast, which is super exciting because it's such a wonderful destination for tourism, but it's also just a place for locals as well, who have just started to reach out and travel and get to cities and experience some great flavours that they want to bring back here. And so, it's exciting times.
Dirty Mo's is part of the throng of amazing venues on the Sunshine Coast. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Dirty Mo's really started back in 2015. We had a bit of a dream. Myself and my partner Ben, he already had a restaurant actually before Dirty Mo's, and we had gotten together, and in 2015 we'd been travelling back and forth from Melbourne quite a few times, and just seeing the back alleys of Melbourne City and experiencing some of the great food sort of from Blue Bonnet to Le Bon Ton and Fancy Hanks and all of that. So we were just in love with what Melbourne was offering, and we kept coming home and just kept thinking gosh, there's nowhere for us to go and experience that here on the coast. And being the fact that we both grew up here, and Ben already sort of had cemented himself in the hospitality industry already, and he wanted something a little bit different to do, a bit of a passion project. And myself, I was sort of early on in my career as a paramedic and thinking that maybe I had this love for food that I wanted to explore more. And so, it just sort of landed on our lap. This offer for a lease came up, and it was actually well and truly way too early on. We thought we were going to do this in sort of 5 years, the pipe dream, but it landed on our lap, and we sort of took it by the horns and ran with it. So we created Dirty Mo's, and our whole dream was basically creating a space where you'd come around a corner and open that door and walk into a venue that would just transform you into a different place. You could be anywhere in the world. And that was the vision, and part of that was really bringing people together with food. Share Food had sort of only really just sort of begun to have this market where we'd sort of transitioned away from that single meal and a la carte menu, and we were really excited to bring something new to the coast. And there was the love of low and slow meats and something a little bit different.
Well, I want to explore what you're doing at Dirty Mo's and what you've done in recent times as well in regards to COVID and changing of the business model. But take us back to when you were young. What sort of role did food play in your family growing up?
Food was always a centre for us growing up. So mum and dad split up when I was fairly young, and mum, being sort of a single income, just required that she would be cooking sort of every night. So no going out, no sort of takeaway or anything like that. But she just had this fundamental love for good food and wholesome food and bringing people together around a dinner table. It was one of sort of the biggest things that we had growing up was, she'd have a garden out the back and we'd have the herbs growing, and she'd teach us how flavours worked together. And we were very much encouraged to cook as young children and almost even take on a weekly meal a night a week. And so, the dinner table just became somewhere that we would come together for connection and stories and how your day was going. And so that was just really the core fundamental of us growing up. So I'd have to say, sort of my influence from food really came from mum. And then we did some exciting travels. She took us out of school when we were 10 and 11, me and my sister, and we went over to Southeast Asia and we travelled for 4 months. And part of that travel was 2 months working in a children's orphanage up in the north of Thailand. Yeah, so it was great. We sort of loved being out of school for those 2 months, but it also just opened our experience and our boundaries around what food could look like. So we very quickly sort of loved the street food. When we started down in the south of Thailand, we were on the beaches and my sister and me were getting caught on the cobs over the coals. And yeah, so there was just so much of that. And then sort of cooking at the orphanage, that was really encouraged. And I remember as a 10-year-old sort of with a wok in my hand and over a fire cooking this stir fry for 20 people who were sort of working. And yeah, that was the sort of the start of, I guess, just this passion for cooking for people. Not that I'm a sort of a great cook as it is. I think I'm okay, but I've learnt some stuff off the chefs as the time's gone past. But it's something about just preparing a meal and then just having people just thoroughly enjoy it. That's definitely my passion.
Well, I'm not sure that I've spoken to many people that have been a paramedic turned restaurateur. Tell us a bit about that career and that shift that you made into the hospitality sector.
Yeah. So I've always sort of loved things that are a little bit different and having sort of lots of fingers in different pies, I suppose. I've never wanted to do a 9-to-5 job, so both of those industries really do mean that we don't have to do that. So yes, I still work as a paramedic. I still have that love, and I don't know if I'd ever fully give it up. But the hospitality side, it was a bit of a shock actually. It's a lot harder work than you sort of think it is. Long hours on your feet and lots of customer service. But no, it's something that I absolutely adore. And I think to be honest, they go part and parcel. You know, you both industries are really about that patient or the customer that's coming in and really giving them just the greatest care or product or whatever you have going. So yeah, it's a bit different, but we make it work.
Are there skills that you've transferred from your career as a paramedic into the role in hospitality? Yeah,
I think sort of as a paramedic, you're sort of always in that high sort of stress world. And so I think that translates across well into the hospitality industry, where you've got that really fast-paced, hot kitchen and plenty of people in the restaurant. So it's that same similar thing there. But I think it's just from, I don't know, there's something about just being there and being really present in the moment about what you're doing. And I don't know.
Tell us about the transitions that you've had to make and the adaptation to COVID that you've made to the model with Dirty Mo's in the last couple of years.
I think, like everybody, the pandemic really threw everyone into sort of some new realms, and people really had to adapt and adjust, otherwise they were just going to fall by the wayside. And the same thing happened to us, being shut down. And interestingly, we sort of had this model, the way that we do our meats anyway. We have initially, when we started the restaurant, we tried a couple of methods around the low and slow and then how to sort of keep that going in the restaurant. And so one of the things that we did when we were innovating the way that we processed our meat is that we cryovac it all down so that it just keeps in that tenderness and the moisture. And so that model really translated well and very easily over to what we're doing now, which is trying to commercialize that product into something that people can take home. So sort of the backstory is we'd been doing some weddings for friends, and we'd been taking the meat the same way that we do it in the restaurant, and we've been taking it to these sort of off-site catering opportunities like these weddings, and realizing that we just didn't need a commercial kitchen, and we were able to feed quite a lot of people very effortlessly. And then Christmas sort of came around, and we started getting these inquiries about people saying, can we use your meat for our Christmases? And we thought, geez, why not? So we'd done a very, very small sort of trial. I think I remember the first Christmas, we only had about 20 orders, but I was stoked and Ben was stoked, just thinking like, oh wow, this could be something different. And then when the pandemic hit, we absolutely just thought, maybe we should seriously think about this. Maybe we should run the numbers and decide whether or not this is going to be viable for the future. And it sort of looks like it's going to be. And so we have been on the long road of transitioning into just selling our meat through the restaurant, so people can take it home in those vac-sealed bags, and then they can just simmer it in a pot of water for 10 minutes, and they've got this low and slow beef brisket smoked. It's bloody delicious, if I say so myself. It's moist, it's tender, it's got that marbling through it, and it's the same as what you would get in the restaurant, and you can have it on your table at home.
Wow. Tell us about some of the products. You mentioned the brisket, but what's some of the other products that you're doing, and what's required in that low and slow process for them?
So some of our other products, we've got a pork collar wrapped in bacon with a maple glaze that we pop on that one. And again, that's just in that sort of low and slow process. It's 6 hours in the oven. It's done really, really slowly, just so it absolutely falls apart when people put their fork into it. And it's finished off with sort of a pineapple and chili sauce. And again, that one is really good. You can simmer it in a pot of water just to heat it through with that cryovac bag. And then you can finish it in the oven, or you can just have it as it is. But if you finish it in the oven, those bacon gets really crispy on the outside and caramelizes perfectly. And then I think my absolute favorite, everyone raves about the brisket, but for me, the lamb shoulder is absolutely my favorite. It's confit for 6 hours, and it's got a rosemary, salt, coriander crust on it. And then that's got like a mint aioli that comes on the side as well. And that one's, that's a big shoulder. It sort of comes in at about, 800 grams to a kilo. And it's all deboned. So you just put your fork in and you can just, it falls apart.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
The things that we're really looking for in plums, first of all, they've got to be sweet. We're really looking for a full flavour explosion in our plums. Red flesh is critically important to us, higher in antioxidants, so all that good stuff. And then we're also looking at a slightly firmer texture. So there's almost a little crunch. That's the real driver for us.
For more information, go to montague.com.au.
What's it like managing, the restaurant side of things and feeding those customers, and also creating these orders for take at home? Did things have to change a little bit in operations?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're almost really at the capacity of our restaurant. Our space isn't huge, and so we're realising now that with the demand of our online customers and the people coming in through that side of things, we're going to have to start looking for some bigger space, sort of working towards getting a production facility in the future, which would be our dream really, to get this in a scalable way so that we can actually start offering this further than our southeast corner, and into sort of more of Queensland, and then hopefully in the near future down into New South Wales and over Australia. That would be the best thing ever.
COVID affected businesses differently in different regions of Australia, and also the world as well differently. With that sort of model ticking away, what was the impact of COVID for you guys? Was it an easy transition for you with your business, or has it been a turbulent time?
Oh, it's been turbulent. I don't think anyone can stand there and say that they've had an easy transition. It's a shock. It's, in the restaurant game and being a restaurateur, it's always small margins anyway. So any sort of major kickbacks or it hurts. There was some definite times where there was some stress at home, and me and Ben were sort of really racking our brains on how we could make something work in that time. And I think we were really lucky that we already had something that was almost ready. Like, it wasn't a full product, but we were able to pull together with what we'd already been doing, and then selling that through COVID really sort of helped us through. And it probably was the thing that saved the business from sort of collapsing in that time. In those sort of, the early stages of COVID were quite difficult. But I think what you've got to do is you just got to learn to adapt, and I think that's just what we've done. And there's always something that you can do. I think as long as you sort of have that mindset and keep that sort of positivity and look to the future. And although sort of at the end of the day, your customer wants something different or that times have changed, people still want to eat. They still want to have those drinks. There's still like a fundamental core value that we hold with anyone who's producing food. And that will be that we can service a customer and we can offer them something really delicious. And we've just now translated what they can take at the restaurant and what they have at the restaurant, and they can take it home and do it in their own living room. And then even further to that, we're sort of expanding that vision of where can people take our meat? Can they go off camping for the weekend and can they take our brisket or our pork or even our lamb, and they can have these delicious meals and this, never have to give away with the quality of what they can take. And so that's where our dream is now. It's like, let's just forget about the restaurant in that it's only where you can have great meals. Let's really push the boundaries and look to where else we can supply people. That's sort of the vision's expanding, I think. And I think COVID really did that.
With the expanding vision and that developing, has there been teething problems and challenges in getting these models right, given you've only got a certain amount of space and you are expanding? Is it?
Oh, absolutely. And we've had some major hiccups along the way. The supply of meat in Australia has been pretty hard, and getting the right brisket. We initially had this fantastic brisket that we were using and they just couldn't keep up with our supply. And then, trying to find another substitute for that brisket was a huge challenge. It took us months and months and months of going back and forth with different suppliers, and because we're so adamant that our quality has to sort of maintain, and we also wanted it to be ethically sourced. We wanted it to be sustainable. Like, there's a lot of key values that we hold before we'll put that meat on the plate. And so for us, it was just back and forth. And finally we've landed with a supplier that's got great brisket, and they're in northern New South Wales, and they're specialising in pure black Angus. We've maintained sort of having a minimum of 3+ marble score, and they're long fed with specialised vegetarian organic grain. So all those things really ticked our boxes in being able to maintain the quality of our product and then being able to deliver it to our customers. So it's definitely not all been easy. There's so many things that trip you up on the way, and our road to commercialisation is a long one, and we've still got a long way to go.
Most restaurants in Australia are family businesses, family run, and there's a lot of dynamic couples that run venues as well. What's it been like for you working with your partner in a hospitality business?
It has been a journey. Yeah, I can't say that it hasn't. No, I think me and Ben work really well together. We're very different styles of working, but I think we've really nutted out our way of working together, and we keep in our lanes and we support each other in stuff. But we're very good at sort of seeing each other's strengths and our weaknesses and being able to sort of pick up where the other person falls off. So I think it's a fantastic thing if you can make it work. You already know this person so intimately, so it makes decisions sort of fairly easy, considering that you know what the person sort of already thinks. And we're very similar. We like the same things in regards to sort of our food and our taste profiles and things like that. So that makes it a little bit easier. And I think his background in hospitality, he's been in hospitality now for 13 years. And so he's got that wealth of knowledge that is really great to draw from, and then I think I'm sort of the one who dreams the big dreams and tries to sort of push boundaries a little bit.
Well, what are things looking like in the next couple of years? We have had the turbulence, but everyone seems to be pushing through. What are your hopes for the region and for you guys in the next couple of years? I
think our biggest dreams really are just to be able to, I think when we come back to what the core values are and why we're doing all of this is it's so much about the community. It's about bringing people together. It's about that connection that people can have through food. And so when we look into the future, I think that vision just wants to be expanded out. I think about the love that goes into all of our products, and then the feeling of putting those products into people's hands and them sharing it with their friends and family. And that moment of having this delicious meal, but without all the fuss and the stress and the hassle of having to create it themselves. And I think if we can sort of get more people to try the meats and just to experience that, and then share it with their friends and family, and just seeing that ripple effect sort of move across the country is just going to be fantastic. And yeah, I just think that we're on a path now where we're just looking to expand, and we're looking for exciting new opportunities on where we can showcase our meats and our products. And yeah, as many hands as we can get these into and mouths that we can feed will be just wonderful.
You mentioned that many trips to Melbourne inspired the idea of Dirty Mo's. Take us inside the venue. What's it like as a customer? What sort of experience are they having?
So sort of as you're coming around, we're tucked around the corner of Mooloolaba Esplanade. So we've got the beautiful ocean opposite us, but we're sort of down a little alley. And then as you're opening the black door and you're coming in, we've got recycled bricks lining all of our walls, and a big bar with a copper bar top, and back bar full of whiskies and bourbons and craft beers on tap. And then sort of all of our tables and grouped together, so they're all large sort of 6 to 10 seater tables. So we're really encouraging everyone who comes in and eats at Dirty Mo's is to be sharing the meats and having the sides and just coming together, just all of everybody sharing in that experience of what great food and great people and a bit of laughter and connection feels like. We initially started Dirty Mo's it was just 2 office spaces. So we did a massive transformation, and we walked 4,500 bricks up some steep inclines and had all of that put in there. So we've done a lot of work in the venue itself just to sort of create this real homey feel. It's welcoming. Anyone from sort of 18 to 80 is welcome in our venue, and I feel that love that we bring is what our customers really love. They love coming in there and just people knowing their name, and there's a local atmosphere, and and just eating great food.
Well, you've had an incredible move into hospitality and doing amazing things on the Sunshine Coast. What do you love about what you do?
For me, I love the people. I think it's all about the people for me. I love hearing the experiences that customers have, and sort of some of the stories of where they're taking our food, or some exciting adventures. We just had a lady who'd been on a hike for 3 days, and she'd taken sort of our meat up there and managed to have brisket burgers halfway through the first day. And so I just think like all those little stories of just the unique ways people are experiencing what we're offering, and that's the best bit for me. I think it's just absolutely about the people and the experience of what that food does. Yeah.
Well, Hazel, it's an honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today to hear just a part of your story, and it's so great to hear some success stories coming out of some turbulent times. Please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.